The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
How is it possible for us to be, 15 games in the season, and for me to demand that the former coach of the year gets a lot better ASAP, okay? Let's talk about it on Locked On Canucks right now. Where's the button?
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks over here at Locked On Canucks. Yes, Locked On Canucks, the show that gives you your Canucks every day, a show that's also brought to you by Game Time, okay? Straight up, but you know the deal about Game Time, right? The best place to get your tickets last minute guaranteed, right? Use Locked On NHL to get $20 off your first purchase, and maybe you should use that promo code for a road game, okay? Not for a home game. Don't waste your money. Beggsy, you listening to me? I said don't waste your money. And Rick Tocchet, how about waste the time out? How about change it up? How about be yourself? Straight up. We'll talk more about that on tonight's episode, or today's episode, I guess. Dude, I'm still in tonight, okay? Well, last night. What a horrible performance. A game that, should have people using the rebate option on their tickets. You know what I'm saying?
Unbelievable, man.
Beggsy, how much money did you waste at the bar yesterday, okay? Tell me. You went to the bar last night, couldn't make the post-game show because, there wasn't even a game last night. Real talk. It was a waste of time. But how much money did you spend at the bar? And are you open to sending an open letter to Francesco Aquilini to get your money back?
Well, I think first and foremost, I want to shout out to Callum and Connie McKenzie. Okay, longtime listeners of the show. I saw in the comments that they go to a game about once every 5 years. They bucked up to get the tickets. They were sitting right by the bench, and for their first game in 5 years, they saw that absolute embarrassment of a performance. And you feel for fans like back. I mean, if fans are gonna get their money back, don't worry about my bar bill. Go refund Connie and Callum McKenzie, okay? Top-notch listeners of Locked On Canucks and people who deserved way, way better last night, most like everyone in that arena. And Kyle, you mentioned it. I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around last night, and Tocchet did try to put it all on himself. And it relates to this is the first time Tocchet's faced controversy here in Vancouver, in my opinion. And we chatted about that a little bit earlier this season, but I think now it's very apparent that, something needs to change with this Canucks team. I mean, some of the Adam Foote magic has certainly worn off with Carson Soucy and Tyler Myers. Rick Tocchet, I think earlier in the season, we talked about him putting the lines in the blender a bit too much, but I don't know what's going on right now, but he needs to absolutely motivate the guys to get going. And again, we've talked time and time again how Tocchet does a good job of, towing the line between, being a player's coach, but also being hard on them as well. Right now, he seems like too much of a player's coach. And right now, I mean, I'm getting the country club vibes back in the Vancouver
Canucks.
Right? I mean, this team just isn't working out there right now. Like, how do you get worked by an Islander team like that, missing Matt Barzal? You got Noah Dobson going at 50%. Just an embarrassing performance. That should never happen to a team with the skill that the Vancouver Canucks have.
Dude, they were missing a couple defensemen as well. I'm pretty sure they were missing Alexei Yashin as well, Doug Waite, a couple other players. You know what I'm saying?
The Canucks put an effort like Alexei Yashin last night.
Dude, they didn't even have Rick DiPietro in that. On that note, they didn't even have Sorokin.
Yeah.
Unreal. Just touching back on your point about Tocchet being too much of a player's coach right now. I wonder if this is something that we should expand on, and not to overly criticize, because Tocchet is the man. He's the dog. He's the culture setter. But, he talked about in the offseason how he needs to adapt, and he knows that to get further as a team, he needs to get better. And this is coming from the coach of the year, right? The Jack Adams winner, the first time a winner of the Jack Adams. But at the same time, he's also a multiple-time Stanley Cup champion. He knows what it takes, and what it takes is just doing a lot more and doing a lot of evolving. And I feel as if this team, this core, and Ash Neal's going to like this one. He's back watching this again. This guy's skipping work to watch a Canucks podcast, being a longtime Oilers fan. He's going to like this. But I think the Vancouver Canucks and this core, and it's pretty obvious to say, these guys aren't winners yet. They're not set in stone professional winners in hockey, even in the regular season. So for Tocchet to have so much leeway and for him to really want the players to do all the leading, for me, is a bit of a stupid thing to do. When Tocchet comes from not only, again, the Pittsburgh regime in coaching, but he's been a long-time leader in hockey history. And I think the boys in blue and green and in black and red and yellow need this dude to be the alpha again this season. And it's totally fine. And maybe he went to this season, expecting, more from the Petterssons, the Millers, and the Hugheses when it comes to holding players accountable. But it's pretty obvious that Quinn Hughes is not going to be that guy. He's just going to do it on the ice. He pretty much said that last night after the game. But it would be, in my opinion, very, very important because they don't really have that vocal leader in the room. I think Miller's kind of toned off a bit because of the obvious reasons for, again, Tocchet to be that guy. And just bring out the whip. I know it's 2024, but just bring out the whip a little, okay? It's okay. You're Rick Tocchet. These guys respect you, and I'm pretty sure you know how to do it.
Yeah, something's got to change with Rick Tocchet. And again, this is a guy who was tough as nails on the ice, and this is a time where I think he's got to be tough as nails on his players right now. And
yeah,
again, Kyle, you've alluded to it before. You don't need to do it in the media, and he didn't last night. I think that was probably the right thing to do because wouldn't have been fair to really pinpoint guys last night. I mean, sure, like Soucy really sucked, Myers really sucked, Quinn Hughes and Phil Hronek both had awful nights. And when that happens to the Canucks, you're not going to get a very good score at the end of the day. But with Rick Tocchet, it is time to crack the whip. And another thing too, while we're talking about criticisms of this coaching staff, to me is the power play. I mean, Kyle, there's a stat out there right now. In general, okay, I'm going to bring up two things. In general, the Canucks, much like last season, are outscoring what their expected goals should be. So that means that they are, executing and scoring on more chances than they should. This team is still not generating a lot at even strength. And on the power play, Kyle, this team has the second lowest expected goals for league wide on the power play. Woo. They're about middle of the pack in terms of power play goals scored, but they're generating nothing on the power play. And to me, this is twofold. I think first and foremost, I mentioned it before, and I'm going to mention it again. The power play needs to be broken up. I mean, do a 1A, 1B, have them compete with each other, do something because it's not working. The other thing is Rick Tocchet and the staff made the decision in the offseason not to hire a designated power play coach. And so far, that decision has blown up in their face.
Oh, yeah. It's so interesting how I was going into this conversation not even realizing that and connecting it to the point, right? The emphasis on this video, like, oh, Tocchet needs to level up. It's 15 games in the season. He's the coach of the year. We're not saying he's on the hot seat or any of that ish. Okay, that's stupid. We know this guy's the long-term coach, but he needs to evolve. And it's been a organizational failure for about, if you include playoff games, man, I feel like it's like we're running on like 70 games, pretty much, right? Like it's been 40 games in the regular season. Our power play sucked the last 40. Then it's like a handful in the playoffs, and we've already played 15 this season. It's been a long time. Do the math. That's like almost a full regular season. That's 70 out of 82 games. And for them to double down on the Tocchet philosophy of getting this stuff done, and I get it. He's an offensive. He was an offensive guy in the past, and he's been around the league for a long time, and he's seen a lot of things work out. But it's pretty obvious that it's just not close to working, which is the scary part. And it's also frightening how you have all that talent and. They're the second worst at generating chances on a power play. It's frightening. So how do you, well, let's talk about solutions though. Like how do you feel as if he can do it within season? Like they're at UBC right now. Like what do you think the conversations are like? He even alluded to like, oh, game day skates have to change, all this stuff. I guess he's quickly realizing, and I hope that they can like reel it in, a quarter of the way into the season. And because I feel as if these are things you want to focus on the offseason, but I feel like he's about to change a lot of his strategy from anything from the power play to how he handles his players on the daily to now to just, again, we got to change what we do on game day skates. Like, how is this possible without him turning off the players? Because I feel as if that's why Tocchet hasn't brought out the leash. Tocchet hasn't brought out the fire, because he's afraid. And maybe he's had this in years past when he was head coach of Tampa Bay and Arizona, where he thinks like players will feel as if that, it can get old or tiring to be around a bit of a quote unquote dictator. But at the same time, I just think that his hockey genius has to now combine with his, hockey authoritative nature. Because he can be that guy. Like, I guess what I'm trying to ask you, Trevor, like, do you think it's even possible to do this in short order? Because we've played 15 games, but we've been very horrible in about 5 of them and mediocre in about 10 of them.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible to flip the switch and do it in short order, to answer your question. I mean, I think with coaches, like, they all have a shelf life, right? And I think the fear, if you're Rick Tocchet, is you come in after being, a player's guy and, again, towing that line successfully for the most part. You don't want to come in guns a-blazing too much. But, I mean, after a performance like yesterday and after, again, it's in our comments and, you don't have to be an everyday to know this. I mean, the Canucks have been blown out in multiple home games this season. And I would say, with the Devils and Oilers ones, those are bad. But I think last night was the worst performance they put forth, at least in the Oilers game.
Yeah.
They had a chance through 40 minutes. In the Devils game, at least they were generating something, even though they were giving up way too much off the rush. I mean, I do think it starts with, you don't have to berate guys and yell at guys at practice, but just keeping the pace up, switching the lines up in practice, maybe not just throw them in the blender mid-game like they're doing something random, right? Shake the lines up in practice, shake the D pairs up in practice, shake the power play up, right? I mean, there's only so many buttons you can press as a coach, but I'm curious what he does today at UBC, because they absolutely got to do something. In the comments too, Kurt Richardson said, right, or Mother Knucker mentioned it, that next two games are huge for confidence and swagger. The Canucks have the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday. That's very much a winnable game. Connor Bedard's first game in Vancouver, and then you get the New York Rangers coming to town. Okay,
dude.
Again,
on that note, sorry to cut you off. You're lagging a bit, but like, can we just kick some ass this weekend? Can we do that? Can we have statement wins against bad teams? Again, that sentence makes absolutely no sense, right? Statement wins against bad. You can have statement wins against bad teams. You make them look horrible. If the Canucks are quote unquote stacked, I know they're missing Boeser and Demko, but they still have a lot of talent, a lot more than Chicago, possibly a lot more than Nashville, considering how they've played. Can they make a statement? Like, win a couple 5-1 games? Reverse it. We've gotten our ass kicked 4 times this season, and we've squeaked by Chicago, and we squeaked by we didn't squeak by Chicago this year, but we squeaked by like Calgary after one good period. And like, dude, just do something. Do something grand against these bad teams. Like, don't just barely beat them. You know what I'm saying? Like, kick their ass. And then I can actually say, like, okay, they've learned their lesson. Because here's the sad thing about all this, right? We've had the lightest schedule in hockey history to start a regular season, in my opinion. Like, we've played mediocrity all across the board. And every time we've played a playoff team or a borderline playoff team like we did yesterday with the Islanders, outside of the game against the Kings, and maybe one more early on if my math is correct, dude, we've gotten destroyed. We've gotten handled. So can we please handle business this weekend accordingly and just kick some ass? Score 14 goals this weekend. Score 10, score 11. I'm not even laughing. Like, it's actually the truth. Like, prove a point. Because if they just squeak by these games this weekend, I don't know how much they've actually learned.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the real test is on Tuesday against the New York Rangers, and then next weekend the Nashville Predators as well. Again, your former opponent from round 1 of the playoffs. But like you said, Kyle, you definitely got to take care of business and do it in a convincing fashion against the Chicago Blackhawks. On the other side, I do want to touch on what the practice lines are here on Friday. We do have that information available, so let's break that down. Are the Canucks making changes? Find out on the other side after we shout out our friends over at Mint Mobile and Omaha Steaks. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy peasy lemon squeezy, no hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. There, you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. Call To get this new customer offer on your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/logkedonnhl. That's mintmobile.com/logkedonnhl. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/logkedonnhl. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower than 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for details. All right. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code NHL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently delivered the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NHL and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NHL. Minimum purchase may apply.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks, Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs, over here at the Burnaby Gardens. One love to the Don't Doze Art Collective, for taking care of that West Coast bias and their neighborly people. Speaking of our neighbors, again, I swear, if you just send an open letter to Francesco Aquilini, you will get something for free. You remember that lady who spent $50 on, or $30 or $25 on, like 8 potato fries and 2 chicken tenders from last year, and she got I don't know, something back from the Canucks. I'm pretty sure you can get something back from the Canucks based on, what we've seen so far this season. Again, Callum, who's in the comments right now, and his wife, they went to the game last night. I'm assuming they spent around $400 to $500 to go to that game, considering they're around the bench. And that's not good energy, man. That's not good energy. Here's the thing. When you go to the game with your girl, and this is getting a little personal. I'm sorry, Callum, if I offend you, I'm sorry, okay? But if you go to the game with your girl and the team wins, you know what I'm saying? Bro, I live in Surrey, but if I went to the game with my girl and the Canucks just kicked ass on a big night and made the whole night worth it, dude, I'm staying in Vancouver. I'm booking out a hotel. Straight up, man. I'm getting some baby oil. Wait, I don't even know if we can say that anymore. No, get P. Diddy. Okay, you know what? Anyways, I want to preface this again, not because I'm scared of any feedback from this episode, because I really don't give a ish about that. But this is not like a target on Tocchet's back type of episode. It's the furthest thing from that. I mean, Tocchet's the first one to say, blame me. I don't think he's doing that just to be a bit of a scapegoat in front of his players. I think he's actually being completely honest with himself. I think he might have prepared himself and this team the wrong way going into the season. And I'm not just talking about trying to produce, more offense, and that being somewhat of the main emphasis or philosophy going into the season, but just in general, the time he took this offseason to prepare himself to be, again, a continuation of an alpha that this team needs. I think they need Rick Tocchet, the head coach, to still be uber fiery, even more so than he was last year and the year before that, considering that this team might be a little overconfident. You know what I'm saying? Like Quinn Hughes and company. I'm not trying to talk ish and say these guys are bad leaders, but these guys are young winners. And right now, and I'm a big proponent of this because I watch the NFL and I know how important head coaching is. Real talk. It's so important. A great head coach is pretty much like having a player on the team providing impact. Okay. I don't know what Rick Tocchet's game score is, but if he's at his best and doing his thing, he can help this team win within the games. And I think he needs to be a bit more on that level. I know it's about the players handling things on the ice, and that's what he likes to believe. But again, I just really think that this team in this core that just got used to winning, or again, maybe overconfident, need this guy to just be a bit more authoritative for real.
Yeah, he needs to be a bit more authoritative, and let's see if he was authoritative at the Friday practice here, Kyle. So these lines were posted 14 minutes ago. some very subtle shakeups to the lineup. So really only a couple of changes to note. So the first line remains Pius Suter, JT Miller, and Jonathan Lecker-Mackey. Small shakeup on the second line. You have Jake DeBrusk, Elias Pettersson, and Kiefer the Reefer Sherwood. Okay, Kiefer the Reefer Sherwood now in the top 6. Kyle, I think you like this one. The third line, back to the best third line in hockey from last season. Dakota Joshua, Teddy Bluger, and Connor Garland. At the fourth line, Danton Heinen, who really had a rough game last night, down with Aatu Ratu and Nils Höglander. On defense, apparently all the pairs are being rotated. So no one is staying together. So Kyle, maybe I'll throw it to you. Has Rick Tocchet made enough adjustments at the forward group heading into Friday? And with the defense, what do you want to see on defense heading into the weekend?
I mean, I'm not like super in love with him splitting up Bluger, Sherwood, and Heinen, because I feel as if yesterday was their first complete no-show of the year. And they've just been so resilient all season, and also a bit of a staple when it comes to providing culture in moments where the team kind of needs a spark. And I just feel as if this is this plan oriented, or more so, oh, let's just shake things up and see what happens. Let's just throw shit at a wall. Again, I much rather Rick Tocchet like lean into his guys and wake these mother effers up rather than just like split everyone apart. That's just me. That's just me. All that being said, I'm just a Findu. He's the hockey nerd here, and he's probably gonna get it right. Garland, Joshua, and Bluger, I think that's gonna be exciting for Joshua's game, but I'm really curious to see like what Pettersson, Sherwood, and DeBrusk are gonna do, because I still feel as if Pettersson still needs a little bit more time with a bit more talent and play driving around him. And when I talk about play driving, I'm more specifically talking about Garland's ability to just win board battles and have the puck and make plays. And DeBrusk is not making plays. He's not doing the DeBrusk.
But you know who is making plays right now? You know who is making plays right now? It's Kiefer Sherwood, man. Kiefer Sherwood is making plays,
but not like Garland. It's a step back for Pettersson. Like, where are we? You know, we just saw this stat where it's like Ilya Mikheyev, like he has 1 goal this season and one assist, and Lafferty has 1 goal and 0 assists, and Kuzmenko has 1 goal and 8 assists. Like, those guys were Pettersson's line mates last year. And now it's like, okay, cool. Like, nothing against Sherwood, but there's a specific role that I enjoy watching him play. And maybe there's more to him, but I'd much rather see Pettersson with more talent around him when it comes to playmaking, you know? And the whole Besser injury is really like hurting this team right now, literally speaking, because if he was in the lineup and they wanted to make adjustments, I feel as if there'd be more balance and there'd be maybe a possibility of Pettersson still having that guy, because I don't think DeBrusk, again, is that guy. All in all, I don't know. Shut me up. Do you think I'm just talking out of my ass, or should I have more faith in Sherwood being something that Pettersson needs?
I don't think it's so much having faith in Sherwood. It's having faith and belief in Elias Pettersson. Look, we can't just have Connor Garland tied to Elias Pettersson for the entire season and say, okay, this is what's going to fix Pettersson. You need Garland beside him. Look, I've said it before. I think Pettersson, for pretty much 10 games now, has looked like a much better player. At least the floor is there defensively. It's time for this guy to step up offensively and just be the absolute play driver that he's been in the past. It's, again, the guy's making the big bucks. It's nice that he's kind of gone back on a roll here, but I think we're at a point where the Canucks do need to shake things up. And, you know, JT Miller's had his own struggles, but at least that line scored last night. He sets up Lecker-Mackey. But it's time for Pettersson and Miller just continue driving their own lines. Garland driving his own line. That's what made the Canucks successful last year. And Kyle, you said throughout the offseason, you didn't want to see Joshua, Bluger, and Garland broken up. So you got your wish. They're back together. Well, hey, man, let's stay together on the show here on the other side. We'll be back after the break. Get us a few comments here, including Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, and more about your Vancouver Canucks. And we'll be back after we shout out our friends over at FanDuel. You know the deal, baby. Whether it's NFL, NHL, or boxing, you can get it on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunt in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Now, Kyle, I don't know if you and me, like when you and me and I probably aren't really boxing guys. Are you watching the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight tonight?
So I just think that ish is so fake, man. So fake. Like, I'm just gonna watch the highlights. It's internet stuff, I'm not gonna. I guess I don't gotta pay for it because I'm using my girlfriend's Netflix, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it.
Well, if you're betting on the fight, the money line right now, Jake Paul -245 to win. 58-year-old Mike Tyson is +194. Whether you're betting on the fight, NHL, NFL, whatever it is, make sure you do so on FanDuel.com.
One love to FanDuel, and I guess my money's on Mike Tyson because I don't know, just it's about the sport, People. We back doing this, talking about your Vancouver Canucks, specifically, how your team can get a lot better. It's gotta come from the top. It's gotta come from the best players. It's gotta come from Tocchet. Okay. Anything else I'm missing, Trevor Beggs? Like, again, I don't know if we're overreacting. It's 15 games of the season, but we've won 8. We've lost 7. We've gotten our ass kicked in 4 games. We've been mediocre in a lot of these games as well, just squeaking by, getting saved by a Pat's backup goaltender. Like, I think it's okay to be. I was going to use the word concerned, but I think more specifically all over the place with our thoughts on this team because they're just oozing inconsistency.
Well, I think the only thing missing that we haven't really talked about is Adam Foote, right? Adam Foote, again, we touted this guy as being a Jack Adams candidate for the work he'd done with the Canucks defense. And, I think Eric Branstrom's been a success story this season. But, looking at Carson Soucy and Tyler Myers this season, I mean, oh
my God,
a disaster. And Phil Pronik, I don't really want to rip on the guy too much because he's had a good season, made a terrible play last night on the 4-1 goal. But Soucy and Myers just consistently seem to be out of position. They're not getting in passing lanes. They're either being too conservative or too over aggressive. I mean, I'm not sure if this is a thing Adam Foote can fix. To me, the big issue, and I pointed this out heading into the season, I think Tyler Myers, we all know that he's better suited in a bottom pairing role, but there's a lot of faith in Carson Soucy to be a second pairing defenseman based on his body of work with the Canucks last season. But he was, again, a bottom pairing guy, and he has struggled immensely in a second pairing role. So,
yeah,
we talk a lot about,
I got that wrong. I was wrong.
And you and the whole market, right? I feel like I was the only guy bringing it up, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because everyone wanted to, believe in Soucy and the sauce and blah, blah, blah. But man, oh man, he is really not look good in the second pairing role this season.
Oh man, like he played a couple of good games. And then something just happened again last night. He relapsed, But I'll say this as well, and it's okay, so maybe I'm too mean on guys like Vincent Desharnais and Tyler Myers, but I would just desperately want to see this team and how they look like if Soucy played with somebody else and Branstrom played with somebody not named Vincent Desharnais. Real talk, man. No, straight up. Like, I just want to see how things flow from that point on. And just to hold on to the Myers point and the Soucy thing, I just feel as if Soucy's back may be hurting from all the carrying he did on that pairing last year. Like, he saved Myers' career early on when Soucy was playing his best hockey and doing his thing. Then Soucy got hurt, and then he came back, and him and Myers are still together. And Myers did play better. Again, he got a lot of confidence from, Soucy's sturdiness and just consistent play. But I just think enough is enough for him. And I think for us to get the next version of Soucy, if it's not going to come from within and like him just being overall better, more consistent, maybe he needs a new partner because that partnership has been so horrible. And, I'll throw it back to even the Oilers series. Like, is it fair for me to do that? Like, going back in time and bringing up matchups and stats and my eye test for that pairing from a couple months ago? I don't know, but I think so. And people like to think that like Myers and Soucy were somewhat of the McDavid stopper, like they were doing their best against, bro. They weren't that good. The bar was too low. They weren't that good, and they got worked in the last 2 games, and that pairing just has not worked for quite some time. And again, like Mr. 1000, Tyler Myers is a cool guy. Everyone loves him, but there is a world where I feel like they could have still saved a lot more money on that contract. Like, we like to think about the whole Vincent Desharnais thing and how we spent too much on that. And no, Myers is like a right-handed motherfucker effort, and like, that's what you got to do. You got to pay the premium for right-handers. But I look back at that deal. What was it? 3 years, $9 million, and I'm like, that's not the greatest. That's not the greatest, man. Because he's looked so sloppy for, again, the majority of the season.
Yeah, 100%. And again, that pairing is generating. Not only are they bad defensively, they're generating next to nothing offensively when they're on the ice too, right? So it's part of the reason that they've been caved. And Kyle, what have we said time and time again? I mean, the Hronek and Hughes pairing is a luxury, but if it's if the rest of the defense is struggling, which they are, you got to change it up. And I think it might be time to split up Hughes and Hronek.
Me too.
They have not been good the last couple of games on top of the rest of the defense, but I think you just need to spread out the wealth and do something different. So really curious to see what the lineup looks like on Saturday night in Chicago. Quickly before we get to the comments, maybe give me your thoughts on what you want to see D pair wise heading into Saturday.
Well, Vincent Desharnais is not on the ice for practice today, so I think that's probably like injury related. I remember him actually leaving in the second period after he got out of the penalty box, so maybe he's like suffering from a bit of an injury or something. But Juleson and holy crap, I was gonna say like
Juleson hasn't been good when he's been in this season.
Juleson, like, is it Juleson and Soucy and Myers and Brandstrom, or is it Hronek and this and like I don't want to see Quinn Hughes and Tyler Myers play together. I'm sorry, do not want to see that.
Yeah, I think it's probably Hughes and Juleson, Soucy and Hronek and Brandstrom and Myers.
Yeah, there you go.
And then, if Juleson needs to take some minutes off, you can double shift with Hronek or something like that.
Can I also bring one more thing up since we're on the topic of D and we'll end on this note? Scott Wood saying, "Yo, Kyle, what's up, Scott? I don't know who you are, but now I do." Were you a little upset at Quinn Hughes yesterday for just taking the stoic road after the game? I mean, I'm not asking him to like lean into the team, but I just felt as if yesterday would have been a nice time for, I don't know, less cliches to be used. I'm not asking him to target any players or even in general, like the style of play. Just show some emotion instead of just like clicheism. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm asking for too much, but when I see things like that and the approach that Quinn Hughes took after the fourth horrible home loss in a short amount of time, because dude, people are spending a lot of money to go to these games. Like, there should be a little bit more emotion there. This is why I do emphasize that I think Tocchet needs to be that guy. Like, he needs to be that guy. Like, this is not good enough. It's not even close to good enough.
Well, yeah, let's show in the comments. I mean, we mentioned it earlier on the show. Callum and Connie McKenzie. Callum saying they spent close to $1,000 last night with the tickets, the pregame meals, a couple of $24 beers. Man, oh man. Rick Tocchet, Francesco Aquilini refund the fans after last night, man. That was an absolute embarrassment, or at least a little voucher or something, man. Unbelievable stuff.
I just got the D pairing. Sorry. It's Hughes, Hronek, Soucy and Myers, and Brandstrom and Juleson. I don't know where I've heard that before, but that's the adjustments. Straight up.
Oh man, that's a rough time. So let's end on a bright note, because that's making me a little angry right now. Mother Nucker saying in the comments that Dakota Joshua put 11 minutes last night, had 4 hits. Wasn't a loud game for Joshua, but good to see him back. And he said that he'll be on a third line with Kiefer Sherwood, Kiefer the Reefer. Well, we know that Dakota Joshua back with Teddy Pluger, Connor Garland. Getting excited to see those 3 back together. And man, oh man, if you're still feeling down after this episode, go watch Dakota Joshua's 3-2 goal against Nashville and get hyped up for the weekend, okay? Because the Canucks got to pick up a dub against the Blackhawks and roll into next week looking like they have a chance against the New York Rangers, who are once again one of the best teams in the NHL this season. But for now, we got to get out of here. Shout out to you and you, whether you're an everydayer or first-time listener, anything in between. We appreciate the hell out of you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. If you like what we're doing, make sure you go subscribe and like this on YouTube. Go follow us and leave a 5-star review on the podcast side. If you're a business owner or friends that own business and you're looking for some sponsorship opportunities, you can make me your biatch. I'll do some ad reads for you. Again, we got slots for a couple local sponsors here on Locked On Canucks. Aside from that, Kyle, anything to say to the people before we get the hell out of here?
how is Rick Tocchet splitting up the best third line in hockey to like bring back the best third line in hockey? Like, why am I emotional about that? Like, I don't know. Just I'm curious to see if this team can get a lot out of Danton Heinen and get the best out of him. If he's just like with Aatu Rat, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, that's where I'm at. Okay, Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs, Locked On Canucks. One love to you and you and you. Hit the like button, subscribe to the show. It helps us out a lot. Peace.